John here, guys, and today we're talking about tiny LEDs.
Honey, I think I know what's wrong.
Now these come from the Tiny LED store, and you can see that they are indeed quite tiny. Let's see if I can get one to focus. It's very simple. You just have two little pads, positive and negative, a row of 3 LEDs. Now this is the thin version. The regular size version is available too. You have an indicator on the back as to what color it is, and it is very thin indeed. In fact, as you can see, it mounts pretty good right onto the back of that arm. So I'm gonna just unplug this battery real quick so you can get a better look of how I've mounted it. I've just covered it in some clear heat shrink, and then I put some double-sided tape behind it as a cushion and 2 zip ties to anchor it in place. And I just have 2 wires running along the bottom side down here to my positive and negative leads. So I have a couple of out there going to my XT60 power connector here. I have a couple of wires going to my capacitor right there, and then to this tiny LED. Now I saw Imaginary Ace using this out in the field, and it was just incredible how bright this thing was. This is much brighter than the race wire LED things, and they're always on. So now it doesn't serve a dual purpose in that it also acts as race wire, but I think for me personally, I like the longer wires. I like to cover my wires in one solid length of heat shrink like this, just to protect them. And I think it's just a little bit easier to install. I may end up doing one on the other side as well. Now what I found when I saw his quad out in the field when we were flying together, I could see it from like 100 yards away almost. And I was just walking around, you know, trying to find my own quad, and I could see his immediately before I barely even got off my chair. And so I knew that I had to get some for my own. Now these things are very, very bright. They come in many colors. I have bought a variety of colors here. I got orange, red, blue. I think I even got a purple. I got some of the regular size. The regular size ones are a little bit thicker, but these thin ones fit on very small, thin race frame arms like that. As you can see, it's exactly the same height as that arm. Very easy to install, and like I said, just cover the ends with heat shrink. Very easy to solder up. Has some nice pads. Just put a little flux on there and solder it up, and you're good to go. And I always keep my extra motor wires anytime I trim them, so I have like a huge bag with various lengths of wire, and so I didn't even have to cut anything. I just found 2 that were going to be about the right size, and I do recommend running it under the arm so that you have no risk of prop strikes up here. And that's it, guys. I mean, you'll find that you can see this from so far. It's just going to make finding your quad that much easier, and I really appreciate that. So another note here, I am running my campfire quads in the GoPro pod right here. This is one thing I do like about the campfire quads frames, is that you just swap the pod out. So I have another pod here. This is my standard racing one that has a fin for turtle mode, and as you can see, I have a camera, you know, Predator, and antenna already mounted. So when I want to switch to this type of configuration, it's just a few screws to take the pod off, put the other pod, hook up the camera and the antenna through connectors. No soldering or anything required. I can do it in about, you know, 60 to 90 seconds. Very convenient. So tiny LEDs, if you're looking for something that is very cheap, these are like $2.50, I believe. The standard size I think are $2. And you just want to be able to find your quad out in the field after you crash it, or just be able to allow other people when you're flying a little bit easier way to see you as you're going through the air. These are great. We did our indoor race the other day, and it was very highly recommended that we have LEDs. Now I know there are some indoor garage races, etc., that do require LEDs, so have some of these on hand, have them ready to be soldered up whenever you need them. You can just keep them in a drawer. 35 bucks will get you the free shipping, which is awesome, and that allows you to get like, I don't know, like 15 of these things. So I just bought extra. I've kind of sold a few to the people in my chapter, and it's very similar to the size. This is the Pyro LED race wire. Very, very similar length. These are actually a little bit thinner, and they are much brighter, as I mentioned. So definitely get your set of those. I'm thinking of a way to try to mount one of these on the bottom of my massive drone or somewhere, or maybe on the underside of an arm, just to make it also a little bit easier to find. Sometimes these little quads, or even a full-size quad, can just all but disappear in tall grass. So spend a couple bucks, make it easier on yourself so you don't get your quad lost. Thanks, guys.